This guy is pretty active. I'll actually pop him here because I think he sees that there was dead money there behind him, and so he'll raise light, and he also raises a large amount of the time anyway, so it's kind of for value. When he calls, I'm not thrilled about it, but you can't really just check behind with pocket sevens here, so we'll fire one bullet and see what he does. Left hand table, I get 3-bet and then get overcalled here, so we're shutting down. Right hand table, he called the c-bet, and then a scare card comes on the turn. Trying to think what he would call with on the flop that I could fold out here. Tens, nines. That's about it. I don't know what he's calling with other than ace jack, tens, nines, queens that's scared. I'm going to check behind here. Most likely give up. Now that he checks again, I still don't think I can rep. I don't know if I can rep an ace here. That would get anything else to fold. I'm just going to check behind. I hate checking behind there, but I really hate checking behind now, seeing that. Okay, so he calls super light. That's why I couldn't put him on a. He called super light with the 3-bet, and then even called on the flop. So yeah, if I had bet the ace, he would have gone away, or if I bet on the river, he might have gone away too. Okay. A lot of times, player that flops a set there or something like that, they'll check again on the river and try to get you to bet. This looks really value-y. I'll call for one more street, but that's about it. This guy has pretty nitty stats too. I probably could have even folded there, to be honest. He's got ace jack or ace king. He kind of underbets there when the queen comes. Or he could add ace queen too. Especially now that he jams the river, but I'm not good here. Yeah, if you only have a couple grand that you find, that was going back to your question, Brisbane. If you found a suitcase of money, what would you do with it? And so if it was only a few grand, yeah, it's almost enough. Like where if you just spend it on the house, you can do a little bit of stuff, but whether you do that or like you mentioned travel with it or even saving it, you're just like, wow, it's not really making the old bank account go up too much. But I would still much rather find 2 or 3K rather than not. But I don't know if I heard about Road to Blow or what is your Road Low Blah? I'm probably butchering that, but you mentioned there's a scandal with Applewhite and everything like that, or with the coach that he was under. I don't know if I've heard about that. Am I going to play World Series 2016? World Series of Poker. I would love to. At some point, I'm going to definitely play. I mainly play cash games right now, so um, probably not unless something changes quite a bit with my bankroll situation by the time I get there. But I also was hoping that Bovada would have, more satellites. I was saving up my points this year for it, and I wasn't really pleased with the packages they were offering, so I didn't really use them for that. So next year we'll see. Main event specifically is what I want to try to play in just at least once. But what about you guys? Any of you out there plan on playing in the World Series coming up in 2016? What HUD do I use for Bovada? It's called Hold'em Indicator. I'm going to keep an eye on this guy here, player 5, with just the fact that he called my 3-bet with Queen 8 offsuit, not even Queen 8 suited. So I'm going to look for opportunities to 3-bet him quite a bit. The Hold'em Indicator stats for me are they'll maintain them for me. You're right. Just for your opponents, they're gone after they leave the table. But for yourself, they're kept historically. So it's good to look at your own game and see if there's anything you need to tweak. But Hold'em Indicator only keeps so much. There's another tool called Hold'em Manager that I use as an actual database to do a lot of analysis of my game. And that's what I recommend using. Hold'em Indicator, I mainly just use it for the HUD. And I was on autopilot over here. I can't remember what happened on the ace-jack hand. Okay, maybe I thought I had top pair with it, but guess not. Alright, ace-6 suited on the button. If I don't raise that, I might as well not play. I get 3-bet, and it's quite a big amount. It's more than 4x. This guy hasn't played hardly any hands, so won't even bother with that. I didn't know that about Applewhite. So that's definitely interesting. Seven six suited here in the big blind. Ah, that guy actually left, so that's a shame. This guy opens in the small blind. I've got 7-6 suited, and I don't really have much on this guy, but I don't really like just calling with it. I'd rather 3-bet with it, and I can represent more. And that's always nice too when they fold. Yeah, I heard about the Colossus. The payout was just kind of ridiculous. Just the fact that they paid so many players that, the top end of it, it's just really not worth it. It's kind of a shame, I thought. I mean, I guess the idea for that one was, the concept behind it was to reward more players for playing, just to try to get recreational players, paid as much as they can, but it kind of de-incentivizes you to play it. Such a huge field, and I forgot I think first place was it under a million? Somewhere around there. It was ridiculous, just compared to the number of entrants, that they diluted the prize pool so much by paying so many people that first place wasn't near as what I thought it should be. We're up to 30 people attending the stream, so thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate that. Left table, this guy's been super active pre-flop. Pretty much a no-brainer to 3-bet ace queen suited against that. Right hand table, 5-6 suited. We have a backdoor flush draw. We've got some potential additional equity if a 2 or 4 comes too, and then the ace on the board. So we're going to c-bet there. On the left table, pretty non-scary flop, so we'll continue there. I'll give it up with 5-6 suited. Sometimes I'll float there, but over here we hit our card, so we're not going to give him a free check behind. And if he has happen to call a 3-bet with ace-7, we tip our hat to him and move on to the next hand. So there, I mean, you could have had pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, something like that. Maybe even just overs that decided to float the flop, but I don't know if he would have taken that long unless he's just kind of Hollywooding there. Pocket 7, since he just min-raised, I'll 3-bet that. Sometimes I'll flat there too. I'm not really thrilled with that board, but this is a hand that I can't really check behind because there's a lot of other cards. Even if he does have an ace or does not have an ace or king, that will come on the turn that will catch him up. And it's really hard to defend too. When I check behind there, he's going to fire out with aces, any ace in his range, probably most kings, if not all of his kings in his range, and then a decent amount of bluffs there too. Can't really defend, with sevens against that, and whatever came on the turn, he could be leading out with that too. Do want to remind you guys again, I do offer coaching. Email me at urbansurferpoker@gmail.com if you want more details. Pocket deuces. It's flat there. Not a bad flop. This guy is just not very aggressive. Almost let out there, but maybe safe enough flop to where he will lead out, which he did. And he's just not very aggressive, so I can't really count on him driving the action for me, so I've got to do a little bit of driving myself here. A little earlier than I normally would. Because if I check call there, that's normally what I will do. This type of player, at least what I perceived him to be, will mainly just check behind there and be terrified that you already have the 9. Which I'm going to a small percentage of the time, but most of the time it's going to be some sort of random pairs, flush draw, and stuff like that that you really need to fire again on. Do I usually only play 2 tables at once? No, I don't, but Bovada is limiting me right now because there are no other tables. At least by the time I click on them, they're already filled up. So if he was a little deeper, I'd probably squeeze there and then, or not squeeze it, 3-bet there and attack that. Just the min raise with an open limp is just a pretty weak play, or pretty weak hand. Sometimes I still do it there even if he is short, but 7-8 suited against under the gun raise. Sometimes I'll 3-bet and sometimes I call here. Here I'm leaning towards calling. I'm not sure why. I'm trying to think why, but I do have some backdoor equity here, so I may. I'm also thinking about the other hand, how I played that against them. Maybe be a little bit more leery. I'll pick a better spot. If we didn't have just that recent hand where I kind of, I check raised on that board that he's got to be a little bit leery on, I'd be more inclined to do it, but ace queen suited and 7-6 suited. I'll 3-bet here just because he's short. If he was bigger stack, and more reggish stats, I'd be more inclined to just call there. But if he ships it, then obviously I'm calling. Left table, I'm in raised under the gun. Sometimes I do that and I get a good amount of respect. And it's cheap in case I get 3-bet, but this guy leads out for the min. I will call for a min bet, even though it's a multi-way hand. I imagine that's probably not going to fly, but we'll see. I've got some backdoor equity, so if somebody's deciding to slow play a monster, I can get there cheaply, possibly. Yeah. Can I coach on live cash games? I could, but yeah, most of my experience is online. And like Brisbane said, yeah, I think it's just looking at the two under the microscope side by side. It's just so much more efficient to play online. You can play so many more tables. You don't have to tip the dealer. You don't have to tip waitresses, things like that. I mean, it's ridiculous how much more efficient it is. Now, if you're able to crush live cash games better than you can online, even with all that withstanding, then great. But I can't. I'm able to crush these a lot more. So it's also full ring. I mainly play 6 max. Well, at least most of the casinos I go to, they don't have 6 max tables. I've got the second nut flush draw here. I think I will play this fast because there's a good amount of dead money in the pot already. So he underbet it a little bit on the flop too. Definitely want to play it fast now. I've got pair with flush draw, so I assume he's continuing with just any. I don't think two pair would have just called there. Probably would have gotten in. I want to if I want to get rid of the nut flush draw, obviously, if that's all he has with the top pair. But I don't know that a lot of players would fold that actually. So scratch that. I want to get out any obviously single ace hands, and I think this should. If I get called here and brick the river, it's hard whether I shove or not, because I'm repping a set. Only sets in my range here are 3s and 8s. That's pretty scary. Could definitely have ace king. I'm feeling like he has ace king or ace 3. I don't know that ace 3 would have folded. I'm surprised he didn't click it back on the flop with two pair like that, but I think I get snapped if I shove the river there, especially since he has, one of my set blockers. Why don't I have Rabbit Hunt turned on? Does it tend to make you play tilty? I feel that Rabbit Hunt's more for results-oriented poker. I'm more interested in trying to make the right play at the time. It doesn't matter whether I would have hit or not. It shouldn't matter, I guess, is what I mean to say. And yeah, all I can see that doing is just leading towards potential tilt. But just try to make the right play at the time. Got a gut shot here, even though I've got two players I'm playing against in the hand. Going to continue there. Hit my money card. Hopefully he made two pairs somehow. Either with Queen Jack, Jack 9, something like that. Since I peg him as most likely not a strong player, I want to keep him in, under bet a little bit. And I'm not really scared of backdoor flush. If you happen to somehow get there with that, then so be it. But that's really rough. Definitely didn't think he had a set, but he let me get there, so. Yeah, the rabbit hunt just wastes time. That's another good point, Brisbane. And same thing for the, show folded cards. There's no use in doing that as far as I'm concerned either. If I would have flopped a set, had I called with, deuces, in a 3 or 4 bet pot, or like Jack Deuce, which I'm about to fold here. Well, we won't see the flop, but if I wasn't closing the action there and the only one left in the hand, the flop came out, Jack Deuce Deuce, wouldn't I want to see that? No, I don't really care about that. If you're in poker for the entertainment, then that both of those features totally make sense, and that's why Bovada has them, I think. But if you're in it to try to play optimal poker, it doesn't really have any bearing on it. When you have a flush draw and you decide to fold, and then you see that you would have hit, that shouldn't have any effect on your evaluation of your decision. It's purely a mathematical decision based on some assumptions as well. It's not 100% black and white, fact. It's still opinion based. The fact that the assumptions play into it make it more opinion based, but Yeah, at least the river wasn't a nine. Very true. That would have been my luck lately with the this hand over here where I hit my miracle card. That would have been pretty brutal. Or if paired the board at all, you know. That's all it would have taken. That happened a couple times in the last couple sessions where I, either flopped or turned either a straight or a flush, and then we got it all in, and then they river a boat. But that's part of poker. I still see people ranting and raving in the chat that Bovada's rigged and everything like that, and I find that to be human nature. We want to blame everything else but ourselves. The whole thing, the whole system is rigged against you, rather than you maybe needing to work on your game. And part of poker is luck, obviously. It's good. You're gonna have bad strings of it. I've right now, I've been on almost a 10 buy-in downswing. And look, reviewing my play each session. There's not a whole lot that I played, where I made a blatant mistake or a large mistake that I can see. There's definitely small mistakes here or there when I rethink through the hand, but no tilting or anything like that. So it's just part of poker. 9-10 offsuit, out of the blinds. This guy doesn't fold to a steal too much, but he at least can fold to some c-bets, so I got mid pair with a gut shot here. Sometimes I'll check that back. If somebody's super aggressive, I'll definitely check that and just check call. Let them hang themselves, and also pot control for the time they actually do have, top pair there that I already plan on calling them down all the way to the river mostly. So. Got an open limp. I think I'll attack it here with four deuce suited. Got a pretty decent image, just the fact that I keep taking down pots, so should help me control the action a good amount. Do get this guy calling behind me here. I don't really like seeing that, but he doesn't really 3-bet ever. Doesn't hardly even raise ever, so it could be anything. I don't flop much equity, and given that it's four-handed, most likely somebody hit a piece of that, so I'm not really going to continue with it here. Looks like now we're up to 38 viewers here on Twitch, so I think that's the most I've ever had so far. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Still can't believe we didn't get over 2 tables going here, but A6 off, so if he folds there, I'm definitely opening this. Well, if he limps there, I'm even more inclined to raise there. It's a pretty standard C bet. If it wasn't all flush board, I'd check behind this a good amount, but since I don't have a club, I can't afford to check behind there and let even the deuce of clubs, take the hand away from me. Do I play higher? I've played NL 400, NL 600 just for small stints, taking shots and stuff like that. But yeah, this definitely is my regular game. Flop top set. There's a flush draw out there, and then some obviously wheel draw potentials. This guy open limped on the button. It's something to keep an eye out for too. I like seeing that. Eight four offsuit, I won't open there, especially this guy is fairly tight. Although it does fold to steal 90% of the time, so maybe I should have. Sometimes I'll look at that there. Also depends on how often I've been stealing, because it's been pretty high. So the likelihood of them playing back at some point is increased. This guy open limped in the cutoff. I will attack that. Ace jack offsuit in the cutoff. Get 3-bet. This guy actually is, even though he's playing a small amount of hands, he's 3-betting a good amount. I'll peel one here and take a look at. It's betting half pot. I do have the nut flush draw blocker. Really contemplating either going for a raise or at least going along. I just decided to pick a different spot. So I have pretty much opposite images on both these tables. You know, over here I have a not so like a rock image, you know, like a tight image obviously, but just one of that I'm winning a lot of pots. So it's going to make folks less inclined to try to get mixed up in pots with me. And then over here, I definitely have not the greatest image. You know, show down that bluff for a pretty large pot, and then I've had to call a couple 3-bets and fold a good amount of time. So something to keep in mind. Finally got a third table going here, so bring that in. Definitely want to see bet this flop in case he has any pocket pair underneath that. Hit my 1 card straight. And we'll continue just in case he has 2 pair. Or possibly a flush draw too. Don't want to let him draw to that cheaply. Still put in one more bet here. I think 2 pair will look me up a decent amount of the time. They shouldn't, but I think at this stake they do. And considering how much what my image is like on this table. A6 suited, I won't always call here, but I think the chance of this guy squeezing is pretty unlikely. Just he's so tight, so that's why I do it there. It's a large bet with it's almost a pot-sized bet, especially 3-handed. So I don't know. This guy I haven't played hardly hands with, so I don't know to perceive that as strength or weakness yet. Give it up. Possibly could have called there one more street just because a diamond draw came, or there's a backdoor diamond draw. Increases the likelihood that he would be double barreling there, but went the conservative route. And the reason why I call there with an ace-6 suited hand, obviously, ideally, is to flip the flush draw or a disguised hand like ace-6 random, or if, to flop trip sixes. But if you flop top pair, you're definitely not looking to get a sizable amount in, unless you're just turning it into a bluff catcher. By the way that you played the hand, that it looks like you don't have an ace. So I think I'm actually going to jump off this table. It's just not greatest. I actually do that a lot more whenever I'm not streaming. I kind of lose focus of that whenever I am streaming, just because I'm talking, but I have no shame in jumping off the table as soon as it gets dried up. Or if a guy starts getting lucky on me a couple times in a row, I'll even jump off that, even if sometimes I think I have an edge on him. It's just in the past it's gotten to where there's been times where I know I'm better than the guy, and the way they play the hand was just, it makes zero sense at all, and they just happen to get there. That coupled with the fact that he keeps getting lucky, has tilted me in the past. So I'll just, once I kind of recognize that as a potential, as a possibility, then I'll just get away from it. There's no need to do it. There's plenty of other tables that there's fish that are probably as bad, if not worse, sometimes. So, but sometimes I will. The competitive part of me wants to, prove that I'm a better competitor, and there's just not really no need for that. When my main goal is just to make money. If my main goal is to get better, and I felt like somebody might be slightly better than me or something like that, or if I thought I was better than them but they were beating me, then I might be more inclined to do that, but that's definitely not my goal. Thanks for the compliment, Jay Brownwood. What other show do people put on? I wonder. You talking about some sort of gimmicks, or I'm not sure. I just talked through my thought process. Watched a lot of pros do it on card runners and stocks poker and Ivy League poker and sites like that. So try to model mine as much as I can after that. But I'm in the U.S. Yes, I am. I'm in Texas. Have I cashed out a check from, I think you mean Bovada? Yes, I have. I cash one out every single month, and have so for the last, I don't know, it was 8 or 9 years now. I may have missed a month or two in there, but almost every single month I'll cash at least one out. And it's the fastest in the business, at least for U.S. folks. It's average 7 to 10 business days. This last one I just had was actually the first one, and I don't know how long that was, a little bit over 10 business days. But a lot of times it's even under 7 business days. So. Calm, cool, and collected. That Austin vibe. Yeah, I love Austin. Definitely love it. It's definitely, if there were other, if I was single, or if my extended family didn't live where I live, then would highly consider raising our family there. But it's a great place to visit or live. Got an open limp here. He's a little short, so I'm a little worried that sometimes what short stackers do is they'll limp and then shove over the top of you. So I want to make that a little less profitable for him to do. Normally I'd raise 9 if he had a full stack, so I'm not going to reward him there with that. Yes, Bovada is legitimate for US users. Now, as far as poker legality for your state, that varies from state to state. I think like Wisconsin expressly prohibits it. So other states, it's just kind of gray. But can and do U.S. players play on Bovada? Yes, they do, and have for a while now. I mean, this is almost like a min bet. I just treat it as if it's not even there, and I'll just continuation bet. How many hands have I played on Bovada this year? I think it's around 100K. I only play part-time. I have a full-time day job, so I want to say it's like around 80K or so. Biggest downswing. I don't have one. I don't really have downswings more than 10 buy-ins or so. But I do have 10 buy-in downswings. I'd say every 3 months or so, right around there. I mean, the biggest one that I've ever had, probably somewhere around 20 buy-ins, but I've never lost my initial deposit, and I've never lost my bankroll that I keep on there, which is a minimum of 20 buy-ins. But I'm sure there's been a time where I've been up, 10, 20 buy-ins or something like that, and then swung down to where it was the swing, the net of it was down 20 at one point. But normally I'm able to kind of right the ship again and finish positive for the month. So far this year I've had one losing month. That was January. I was down, I think, like $600 or something like that. I have had some other, less than stellar months where I've only finished up, I think actually one other month where I finished maybe up about $500 or $600. But for the most part, I average about 3K a month, and that's part-time. Not a huge fan of that turn card. I will check that with the pocket nines there. This is a limp pot on the left-hand side, so and it's somewhat dry board, so I don't really want to check to the guy with position. I will peel one here. I can't just give him credit for the flush immediately. That should slow him down if he doesn't have it. And it does. Because I would do that with a large part of my range there, of my value range that might call a river bet. Aces, kings, queens, some random 10 that if I had trip 10s there, I'd probably do that too. Actually, with some of those, I would be, if I didn't have a spade in my hand, since I have, such a high end of my value range, I might be a little less inclined to check there, because if he happens to check behind and a spade hits and I don't have one, then that's terrible case scenario there. Almost, worst case scenario. This guy doesn't rep much here. I don't really know how much he has here, or we've only played 5 hands, but It's a pretty dry board, so I'm thinking a lot of times when he does this, he has a king that he's trying to find out where he's at. Sometimes he'll do this with a draw, and if he gets re-raised again, he may shut down. That's why both of those, scenarios end up in him shutting down and me winning the hand. There will be some times where, yes, he does happen to have king 10 or does happen to have a set there, but that's such a dry board for him to try to seize control of it. Screams more draw than it does something that he can represent, the top end of his value range. So if I was him and I did have king 10 there and I did have pocket fours there, or even like king 4 there, then yeah, I would definitely be raising like he's doing, because it just does not look like you have a hand there. Man, he's 3-bet me pretty fast here. That's funny. Games seem very soft compared to stars. No 3-betting, no check raising, super passive. I have played on star. I mean, not recently since they, restricted it to U.S. players, but yeah, it's definitely a different game for sure. The knocks on Bovada compared to stars are there's no reward system. I mean, they have points, but I mean, you acquire them at a snail's pace, and what you can spend them on is just like entries to like $150 buy-in after you accrue like a ton of points. It's nothing near what the Poker Stars reward system is. Where you can get Supernova Elite and basically make a lot of money just doing that, even just breaking even. So it's not reg friendly for that. You can only play max of 4 tables, so a lot of regs don't like that. The software is kind of glitchy. Sometimes it'll time out on you. There was a period there for a couple months where it was doing it to me quite a bit. I kept posting on about the forums. There was an official rep at the time, so I would show them. Was having a dialogue with them, at least as far as what was going on. Other players were kind of mentioning the same thing, and then all of a sudden it stopped for me. Still continued for them, but so there are some downsides to it that people don't like about it. But as far as the competition, yeah, it's definitely softer than stars for sure, and a lot more passive. And some stars players don't actually adjust, though. They still play the same way, or they assume their opponents are going to play the same way that their opponents play on stars, and they end up getting a call down super light, or they end up misreading hands based on that, because they're so used to playing against aggressive opponents. So I get squeezed. I 3-bet, get cold called by this guy, and then I get squeezed. This guy's first hand. That's very suspect, but I'll let it go. I get 3-bet by this guy after I raise under the gun. Sometimes I'll repop there to kind of represent the top of my range, but I don't have any history on the guy. I will just give it up for now. You had to get a net spend card why did you have to get a net spend card? I do the check cash out. You get one free check cash out a month, up to 3K. Anything beyond that, it's a there's a processing fee for it. You can also do bank wires too for larger amounts, but I haven't messed with that yet. Yeah, the HUD is Hold'em indicator. And it is $100. I think they do offer some deals to where if you sign up on a site, one of the sites that they, I guess, have an agreement with, and use their referral code, then you get it for free. So just take a look at their website. It's good software. I'm surprised there's not more competitors in the market for it, because any serious Bovada player has it, and I think you'd be foolish not to, because you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage by not having it. This guy opened, he's already 3-bet once, and he opened under the gun. I will 3-bet him here. I don't always 3-bet with ace king. And especially against under the gun raise, I don't always 3-bet with it. Why not zone over the reg tables? Do you play zone? I have played zone, and I played for a couple months, playing NL200. All of a sudden, the traffic for 200 dried up, though. So I tried playing a little bit at 100, and it just wasn't as profitable as playing 200 regular 6 max, so I stopped. I haven't looked lately to see if it started back up, but I was kind of enjoying, kind of formulating a new strategy and everything like that. It was kind of a new animal to learn. Let me look right now and see if there's any. Yeah, I'm looking right now. There's literally 0 players on 1-2. It's not like it's just a little bit of traffic. It's no traffic. I don't understand why, but yeah, just suddenly after a couple months, it just died. So no, I don't play that as much. I don't play it all, actually. Okay, let's try bringing in a third table again. Ace queen offsuit, button raise, and let's see, this guy's pretty passive. This guy is a little bit more aggressive, especially his aggression factor, but he has not 3-bet one time yet, until now. So I definitely won't consider 4-betting this, given the fact that he hasn't 3-bet yet, but that doesn't mean he can't be doing it light. Just less likely. He does c-bet a high percentage of flops, so I'm going to expect a c-bet no matter what. It's not a terrible flop for me. I mean, I'm behind obviously aces, kings. Queens is less likely since I have a blocker there. When he doesn't c-bet, that's a little bit strange to me. I almost check behind there. I just don't want to give a free card to jacks or tens to get there. We're kind of deep, so maybe that's why he did it. He's going for a check raise. I'll find out pretty soon. Okay, so the reason why you had that net spend card, it was something to do with Wells Fargo. Yeah, different banks have different policies on cash outs. I end up having to switch the bank that had processed checks from Bovada for years for me, and then all of a sudden overnight they kind of changed their policy on overnight or on foreign checks to where I would have to wait till it goes into collections each time, and that's just too long of a turnaround when I actually rely on it here. 7-8 suited. It's my first hand at the table, so it's a little bit suspect, but it's a decent flop to continue on. I got a little bit of equity too. He did call my 3-bet rather quickly. That's pretty suspect too. I don't know if I buy that unless he's doing it with, he could be doing it with tens and jacks. Some players will play that super fast, but it just feels like he knows that there's a good chance I'm light there and he's gonna raise. But since it's the first hand, I think I will probably pick another spot. Hey, fat kid from up, good to see you. It's going a little better now. The session I had before I started streaming was fairly brutal, just running really bad, but starting to turn things around here, at least thanks to the stream, luck of the stream. Okay, there's a question from Vera. Do you like the anonymous players on Bovada, or would you rather know the history with the players on the table? Um, it's kind of half dozen in one, six in the other, or however the saying goes. Um, it's just something, it's just something to adjust to, no matter what it is. I don't know if I have a preference, one or the other. Trying to think for any reason I would or should, but see, I mean, back when there were screen names and everything like that under Bodog, I had a lot of player notes and things like that. And there's sites like poker table ratings where you could look players up even if you hadn't had history against them. So that was kind of nice, but it's also kind of nice not having history against players, or them not having history against you. I'm going to pretend that this did not happen over here. The lead-in bet there. It is a little bit larger though. Now that I think about it, a lot of times when they'll do the find out where I'm at thing, they'll bet smaller. So, and I get raised big here. But yeah, he ended up folding there. That's a see where I'm at kind of thing. This guy either has a set or nut flush draw, maybe ace queen at the least. So if I just call there, I cap my range quite a bit, and it just kind of handcuffs me the rest of the hand. That's why I don't like doing that, even though I just had a pair of fours there. So I'm already starting off with a pretty rough image. I think I'm three hands in, and had to fold quite a bit with already having a good amount in there. So something to keep in mind. Four-handed, I will call with King Jack offsuit here. Normally I wouldn't, but I'll continue with pocket sixes on a Queen 5-3 two-heart board. Get immediately check raised. I will continue at least. Pick up a little bit more equity on the turn. I'm still going to continue here. And everything got there on the river. I don't think that I can rep it now that the ace hit. I don't think a queen would fold. But the reason why I'm calling there on the turn, I pick up a little additional equity in case he does have just the nut flush draw there, and then breaks off on the river. Then I scoop the pot a good amount of the time. Biggest downswing in the 1-2 games was, I mean, I can't remember too often losing more than 10 to 20 buy-ins at most. But I'll have a downswing of about 10 buy-ins every 3 months or so at some point, during the month. Doesn't mean I finish down that much necessarily. I got 3-bet here by this guy. He hasn't really raised a whole lot, but timed out. Too late. I was going to repop him just because my image is so bad. I think I get looked up fairly light there. I'm continuing on the turn here to charge a draw, and then sometimes, I don't know if I get 9s or 10s to fold there really, but mainly to charge the draw. And also in case he called on the flop with overs like he did obviously, and didn't hit, then if I check behind there, I get him free opportunity to hit again on the river. Ace-9 offsuit on the button. Still playing four-handed here. And it's not looking like a great table, actually, the more I look at it. This will be my last hand at this table. Pocket ace is top right. Against under the gun raise. Can't really see his stats over there. Not really much to think about there. Just gonna need a 3-bet. Flop the set here. The reason why I repopped this guy is his stats. He's really active. I think I'll just go ahead and get it in. My image is so bad over here that I should be able to get paid off a decent amount of the time. Not the greatest of river cards. I've got the nut flush draw here. I want to fold out any jack, so I think I'll let him try to represent the flush here. He's going to have it a good amount of the time, but I'm most likely going to pay him off. Because he could try to turn his hand into a bluff. I'm not really worried about a set since the 4 paired. He could have 9s, obviously. He could have jacks, but trying to think if that was best. Because it was 3-bet pot. Ace Jack is probably the least of what he had there. Probably had something more like queens. It's close. His range is queens, ace jack, nut flush draw, which got there, jacks, which has me crushed, and still calls on the river. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, he ended up just having pocket 3s, so definitely wasn't calling. So on the left-hand side table there, he was calling me most likely with a medium-ish pocket pair, I'm thinking, or he was floating that, as soon as I give up control of the hand, he's shoving. Less likely since it was such a large pot, 4-bet pot, but I have seen people try to do that, and I've been able to induce that. Probably just a couple more hands, final orbit here, and then I'll call it a night. It's good to end on a good note since I've had a few sessions where I've definitely been finishing down and haven't been running good, so it's nice to start running good again. What's my bankroll rule? For me personally, it's always a minimum of 20 buy-ins before I, move up a stake, or at my current stake, I'll never allow my bankroll to get below that. The software, the HUD that you're talking about, it's Hold'em Indicator. It's not free. It costs right around $100. Pocket 8s under the gun. Sometimes all min raise, sometimes all 3x raise. It looks like we're up to 56. That's definitely the most viewers I've had, so thank you guys. I'll continue on this board. It's a pretty safe board. Get insta-called, and he's got a low or a high fold to see, somewhat high fold to see bet percentage, but I turned pretty much the nuts. It's not a bad thing. Another great card if he has ace jack, which is definitely part of his range. Trying to think if I can go for all of it here. Just about. So that means he had ace jack there. We'll find out. Inquiring minds want to know, one of them being mine. He just had a deuce there. I guess, so he could have had jacks, he could have, pretty much unlikely that he had aces there. Jacks or ace deuce, I didn't consider that until too late. But yeah, so I went for max value, but a little bit thin to go for max value there when the ace hits, because he could easily have ace deuce and played it that way. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Last hand. Maybe time to grind dollar sit and goes. Sorry, Preston. It sounds like a pretty unlucky situation you had there. Do I ever play 4 card on Bovada? No. I don't. It's just more variance. If I was younger and didn't have dependents, then wouldn't mind playing higher variance games. I'm sure the skill level's pretty soft on those too. Alright, thank you guys. Urban Surfer. Again, you can contact me at urbansurferpoker@gmail.com if you're interested in coaching or if you have any questions or anything like that. Come check me out on 2plus2. Check out my thread. I'm under the same name there. Actually, it's just Urban Surfer there instead of Urban Surfer Poker. But come either shoot me a PM or check out my thread. And I'm also got a YouTube channel under Urban Surfer. So come take a look at that as well. And that's where I'll store these videos. This video will be stored there. You can view them on Twitch for up to 2 weeks or so, but they take them off after that. So it'll be on YouTube forever. Thank you guys, and